Today we're doing a very quick update on Bitcoin and Ethereum. We'll take a closer look at this because right now you can see that we have a bullish pattern that might be playing out at the moment. We'll see about that as well. Maybe we'll see live in the video whether we break above it, but right here we also have a resistance zone, which isn't all that great. The second thing we'll look at later are the liquidation heat maps. We still have a lot of liquidity, sitting just below 100,000. It's not unlikely that we'll go and pick that up. Will we pick it up right away? We'll see about that. It doesn't have to happen. It looks similar for Ethereum. 2,400 is still a price level for me that's in the realm of possibility for us to reach. I've also opened a new position for my trading pot there. All the other trading bots are still running as well and continue to make profits all the time. That's obviously really, really awesome. But as you can see here, I have my position at $2,400, which is still open. It's still at $2,400 with the 100 times leverage I scaled in the video. No, there's still an order there to scale my position. This one actually has an entry at 1,628 US dollars. Exactly. But what's really, really positive, and I noticed this today, is the US tether dominance. I marked that on the chart today. We have an ascending triangle, and with the last 4-hour candle, there was a breakout to the downside. For everyone who doesn't quite know how US tether dominance works, here's a quick and simple explanation. If US tether dominance goes up, Bitcoin and generally most altcoins go down. If US dominance falls, it is a sign that Bitcoin can rise. And now, of course, we have the following possibility. If we actually break downward here, but also break through our long-standing support line to the downside, which is where our last all-time highs happened afterward, then that would be super optimal for us to actually see a breakout to the upside in Bitcoin from this bullish pennant we have, which is currently very clean and will give us higher prices. It's important to surpass this yellow line at just under $160,000 because in the past, here you can see it very clearly on the 4-hour chart, how often. We had candle rejections here, but also in this area it served as support a few times before things went back down. The daily chart also shows this a bit better and a bit more clearly. You can see that just above it, there was support, just for one candle, and then it went down and it was similar here, just briefly above it and then back down again. But if you look at the daily chart, you can see that all our all-time highs were only reached with quick candle wicks, without us actually closing above it, which could have brought us significantly higher prices. That means it would be ideal, and really, really ideal, if Bitcoin finally manages to close a candle above this level. And if this candle even does a retest somewhere and then continues to rise, if it doesn't continue in such a parabolic fashion, you could experience similar candles as we saw here. That would of course be really good. But what I want to show you now is that we have the individual Fibonacci levels. And in the last video, I said that we have this Fibonacci level here, where we are once again facing resistance right now. And the most important Fibonacci level we have, let me zoom in a bit, is the 0.68 to 0.65 range. And take a close look at what has happened again at this very moment. We got a rejection exactly at 0.65. The previous candle was at the 0.618 retracement. This means it would be really ideal if we could get above that, have this breakout out of this triangle so that we might actually see higher prices. If that doesn't happen, don't forget, with this triangle we have, with this bullish pennant, we could still move down within this triangle. That would be the 101,000. But not just the 101,000, because we could also break out to the downside. Of course, these are just probabilities that we have. So we could actually have a breakout to the downside in this bullish pennant. But that doesn't mean that we'll close all the way at the bottom. Maybe we'll just pick up the liquidity. That's down here. You can see there's a lot of it concentrated down below. At the moment, we have a lot of liquidity distributed above and below. Here, the cluster is a bit higher, and here it's much more spread out, all the way up to almost 108,000 US dollars. That means, of course, the next few hours are crucial. Will we manage to get above it or not? The US dollar dominance is currently actually having an effect, causing things to move nicely downward. That would of course be the optimal situation for me. What might also be interesting with Bitcoin, you can see it. So it's actually drawn in very simply without much fuss. If we draw a line in here now, you can actually see very clearly that we had resistance in this price range twice now. And everything above that, even with candle wicks going down on the individual candles, was always support. And for a very, very long time, we actually found support here and are now starting to rise. That's why I'm curious. If we break through this midline to the downside, there's actually a higher probability that we'll see even lower prices. Now, to wrap things up, let's move on to Ethereum. Ethereum is actually super interesting right now, even though US tether dominance is currently falling. If we take a look at this here, in the last video, in the in-depth analysis video on Ethereum, check it out. It's super interesting. I actually went long term. I included every time frame and really analyzed Ethereum in detail. But here we have, I talked about this, the possibility of this expanding triangle, which overall, when it comes from a bullish trend like it does here, is actually a bearish sign. In fact, in the meantime, we haven't managed to form new higher highs. We have now also fallen below this ascending support line, and you can actually see how cleanly that happened. That we still had a candle close here, and after that it went down. Now the question is, will we retest it again and continue further down, or is this just a small breakout? In the meantime, we have also, and I'll remove all these lines, here again, we have also formed another triangle. A symmetrical triangle, and that looks super interesting right now. If we look at this area here, and then we have it again in this area here, and that really does look very, very interesting. And I also think very strongly now that we are going to make a decision right here in this area, if we look at it this way, about how things will proceed. Exactly in this price range. That means if we surpass around 2,570, then that's very bullish and optimal. If we fall below around 2,450, then we still have this candle low here at 2,408. But even then, we could reach those $2,400 where I said if we look here, I think in the 1 week chart and also in the 2 week chart, you can clearly see on the liquidation heat map from Firon that we currently have quite a bit sitting at 2,436. That actually just came in recently, that the firm was pumped again. But in the 2 week chart, you can clearly see that at $2,400, there is quite a bit of liquidity, a liquidity cluster that is not insignificant, and we should not overlook that. And that would also be very, very interesting. Where is this cluster located? You can see it right here in this price range, where we have formed demand zones. This is the price range right here, that we can see clearly here. So actually, I would have to drag it to the left, where previously, after we had this bullish breakout, and it even goes a bit further down, into this price range, where we previously had a strong breakout, which we then had to break through upwards, even with several retests here, testing this price range again and again here, before we finally found support. And we shouldn't overlook this demand zone. You can see that it carries over into the current point in time. But it's exactly these candle lows, which are around $2,400, that you shouldn't ignore so that we might still catch that level. Overall, Ether doesn't look so great right now, and I have to be honest about that, because we first need to form new highs on this small time frame in order to really see higher prices again. But here too, you can see on the 4-hour chart that it's important for us to hold exactly this $2,400 level. We can also take another look at the daily chart, and you can see it there as well. The daily candles closed exactly here, found support here again. These are precisely the important levels. If we maybe take a look at the indicators, that is the oscillators below, let's briefly check out the RSI. Looking at the RSI, you can see it was actually in a very overbought area, and that's where we also had this bearish divergence, rising price, falling RSI. That means it will now be exciting to see whether we can actually continue moving parabolically, which of course would be ideal. Because what do we have now? Here, and this is what I mentioned in the last video, we could possibly form some kind of bullish counterpart here. It's not entirely clean, but it would be something that could give us higher prices. And what's even more important now is that we need to make sure this MACD level on the daily chart stays in bullish momentum. Because I can show you that as a final point. With Bitcoin, if I'm not mistaken, on the daily chart, was it the daily chart? Because right there, the MACD level is just starting to take on bearish momentum. Of course, that doesn't mean it's guaranteed to play out, but we shouldn't ignore it either. And now it's just a matter of waiting. What will this Sunday bring for Bitcoin, the company, and the crypto market in general? Will we manage to stay above, as mentioned at the beginning, with US Tether dominance? Or is US Tether dominance actually just a fake out right now and will climb back above it, causing the price of Bitcoin and similar assets to go down? That's it for today's update video. Leave a like and drop a comment. I'll see what I can do. I can't guarantee it yet, but I'll do my best to maybe go live this evening. Maybe we'll get a bit of volatility in the market. Then we can do some trading as well. But I'll let you know in the Telegram group in good time. So see you soon. Bye-bye.